Crime, Wine, and Chaos contains adult language and graphic content. Listener discretion is advised.
What you see is what you get with us, Chaos Kids. I'm Naomi.
I'm Amber, and this is Crime, Wine, and Chaos. Wow, that was very timely.
Was it?
What you see is what you get. Right now, people see nothing, but maybe in the not too distant future, they will be seeing what they get.
Well, look, if you guys are following us on TikTok, you do get to see us, right? Because we have been putting out for quite some time little video cuts of what we do here. Little snippets, just little enticing snippets to try and get people to come listen to the full deal. But we are talking about just going... Right now, you can listen to us on YouTube. We have our episodes available on YouTube as well. But we're talking about putting up the raw video from recording, and you could watch our whole it makes me very uncomfortable.
Samesies. You know, we just have to really be on point because I don't want to have to edit a whole last video, and nor do you. And I don't even know if I know how to. So it might really be what you see is what you get, you know?
I do know how to. I could do it.
You, sister.
I know. I don't. You know what? Forget I said anything. Hi, how are you, sister?
I'm good. Thank you for asking. I get to see you 3 times this week, 2 IRL and here.
Oh, yeah, because we're going to have Sissy Day in a couple days. And we just had Dick's Night.
We did have Dick's Night.
Which was amazing.
That was so fun.
So fun. So good.
Yeah. Shout out.
If you don't know, the Chaos Kids who don't know, Dick's is a beloved local burger chain around here. A lot of our listeners do know because they're from around here. But Amber found a recipe. We've talked about it before because one of our listeners, Josh, was looking for a Seattle recipe to serve up at one of his football nights when the Seahawks were playing
the Broncos,
his team, and he made them and found them to be delicious. And I was jealous because Amber had yet to make those for me. So she did that last night. And oh my God, they were so on point. It was so good, you guys.
Thank you so much.
So good.
Yeah, we had the whole Crime, Wine, and Chaos family. We had our Gary and Jeremy who edit our show with 8th Direction Records, and I made Dick's. I was a full-on line cook.
You were a full-on line cook. Although, caveat, we were missing one member of the Crime, Wine, and Chaos family.
Oh, Joshua. That's true.
Joshua.
Gary cut that. See, we can't do video.
We are not ready for prime time, you guys.
No, we aren't. My God.
We have all been together under the same roof once.
That's right.
One time.
At the live show.
Right.
Yep.
At the live show, which we should do again. I know we keep talking about it. We should do it again.
We talk about a lot of things.
We talk about a lot of things, you guys. We're good at talking, which, you know what? We should start a podcast.
Yeah. You know what? It's not the first time it's been like thrown at me. Like, do you ever think about doing like another podcast? I'm like, in my free time? No. What the fuck?
Well, here's the thing. Most people don't understand. They think that a podcast is just like you just get on, you just hit record and start talking. They don't recognize or understand how much work goes in before and after. Like the recording is the easiest part, you guys. It's the easiest, quickest part. Everything else is a lot of work.
It's so much work. So much work.
What are you drinking, sister?
Thank you for asking. It doesn't have any numbers in it. It's a white blend called Leap Year.
Leap Year?
I just got another case from Splash Wines today.
That's fun.
Thank you.
Do we have anything for the good of the order today?
No, we do not.
Okay.
No.
Well, then, will you tell me a crime?
I will. I'm going to tell you a little story. I'm going to tell you about Steve Robards. Okay. And this sounded so familiar to me that I was certain one of us had done it. We haven't. I checked.
Okay.
But
you know what's interesting because I don't know if you've ever gone and checked since I updated that spreadsheet.
I don't. You know what? I weirdly, for as much as I forget things, which I know that I do, I have a weird recall for this.
Okay. Well, for me, there's like 95 episodes before I came along that I don't know that I wasn't always there for. So,
Of course. Yeah. Anyway, so we're going to talk about Stephen. So we're going to Dallas, Texas. 38-year-old Stephen Robards was a Texas native, recently divorced, and he worked as a mail carrier.
Okay.
Well, not super recent, but so his 16-year-old daughter, Marie, had just moved in with him after having a disagreement with her new stepdad.
Okay.
Yeah.
Happens.
Mm-hmm. Marie, whose name was Dorothy Marie Robards, she went by Marie, was the only child of Stephen and Beth. Stephen and Beth were high school sweethearts, and after graduation in 1974, they got married at the age of 18. And immediately, Stephen started his 4-year tour in the Navy.
Okay.
In 1977, Dorothy Marie was born. And after his 4 years, the family moved back to the Fort Worth area, but the marriage became strained.
Mm-hmm.
Stephen was dealing with bouts of depression. He would get angry quickly, and he had a hard time keeping a job.
Okay.
So by 1980, his mental health had taken such a toll on the marriage that they separated. By the late 80s, Stephen's mental health was being managed well. He was in a good spot. He met Sandra Hudgens at a Parents Without Partners meeting, and the two started dating. Do you remember Parents Without Partners?
No, but I feel like it's come up on another episode before.
I had a coworker who met her husband there at a Parents Without Partners dance.
So weird. It's like, okay.
It's odd, right?
I mean, you know what? However you meet people,
Sure.
however you
I wonder
meet
if
people.
it still exists.
I don't know. I mean, that's everything's online now,
That's true. So by the early 90s, Stephen was thriving. He was proud of his job as a mail carrier. He was in this really healthy relationship with Sandra. But at his ex-wife's home, things weren't great. So Marie was a teenager at this time, and she felt like her stepdad had taken her mom away. Mm-hmm. Her and her mom were like super close. And it sounds like even the stepdad sometimes was jealous of Marie, like he was the odd person out.
I mean, okay.
You have feelings about that?
I just, insecure men. I don't have any patience for it. Go golf or something. Like, I don't,
I do know. Yeah.
Get a hobby.
For sure. So in the summer of 92, Marie came home to find her stepdad cheating on her mom.
Oh, okay. So he found a hobby.
Yeah. Like, not that hobby. Not wrong hobby. God. Too far. Oh my God.
Wasn't specific enough.
Yeah, no,
what hobby meant. Okay.
Yeah. So she told her mom, but her mom ultimately decided that she wanted to stay in the marriage. And so this is when Marie pieced out and went to move in with her dad, Stephen.
Okay. I mean, this is literally a classic example of why women today are trying to explain to other women how it's time to decenter men from our lives, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Stephen only had a 1-bedroom at this time, but he was on the list to move into a larger apartment, and he was really excited to have Marie living with him.
Mm-hmm.
She enrolled at Eastern Hills High School. She was a straight-A student and popular, and she was described as quiet and poised and flawless.
Flawless.
Yeah, she was like, no cracks are showing,
Okay.
And the father and daughter seemed to be having a really great time together.
Okay.
So on February 17th, 1993, Stephen went to an evening church service after his dinner. And when he got home, he told his girlfriend and Marie that he wasn't feeling well. He had severe stomach cramps, and after a few hours, his girlfriend finally called an ambulance. He was in the living room, extremely nauseous, foaming out the mouth, and almost in a coma-like state.
Oh, no.
I know.
This sounds like poison.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
By the time the EMTs arrived, he was already dead.
Oh, no.
I know. His throat had completely closed, and his death was determined to be caused by cardiac arrest, and it was documented as a natural death. But he was only 38 years old. Yeah. Yep. So Marie moved in with her grandparents and transferred to Mansfield High School. And this is where she met Stacy High, and the two became like best friends.
Okay.
Stacy thought that beneath Marie's seemingly perfect exterior, there was like something there that she couldn't quite put her finger on.
Right.
Mm-hmm. She had a feeling that this whole perfect thing that she had going on wasn't authentic.
I mean, of course it's not. No one. We've talked about this very recently.
Mhm.
No, there's no such thing as perfect.
Well, yeah, I know, and it's pointless trying. Trust me.
Yep.
I've tried.
Yep.
I've tried.
I know, sis. I
Like
know.
my anxiety. So in high school, they were required to read Shakespeare's Hamlet for English class.
Mm-hmm.
And in Act 3, Claudius is agonizing over his decision to repent over killing Hamlet's father. So Claudius is openly confessing to his crime while praying, and Hamlet chooses not to kill him while he is praying because he believes if he is in a state of prayer while he dies, Claudius will go to heaven.
Okay.
He doesn't want that.
No. He needs to go straight to hell for his misdeeds. Yes.
Yes. So the two friends are reading this line, and Marie starts to cry, and she says to Stacy, "Do you think people can go through life without a conscience?"
Uh-oh.
And Stacy was like, "Do you have a secret?"
And
Marie says yes.
Mm-hmm.
And Stacy was like, "Have you done something?" And Marie says yes. And Stacy was like, "Oh my God, you're pregnant." And
right.
and-
I mean, yeah, that's like 100%. That's the first. When you're teenagers.
Yes. Uh-huh. And Marie was like, "No, it's much worse." And Stacy says, "Did you kill someone?" And Marie nods, yes. And that is when she admitted to killing her dad using a poison that she had stolen from chemistry class. Mm-hmm.
What?
I know.
Why?
Well, I'll tell you.
Okay.
So she said she took it when the teacher wasn't looking, put it in a paper towel, and shoved it into her backpack. It was like a powder. A week later, while she was making dinner, she mixed it into her dad's Mexican food, which concealed the taste because of the spiciness and all that. And after Marie tells this to Stacy, she makes her promise that she will never tell anybody.
Oh, look, we'll continue to be besties forever, but I did murder my dad.
I mean, yeah, that's not the kind of secret you ask someone to keep. Pregnant? Okay, don't tell anyone. But BT dubs, I murdered someone. Pinky swear you won't tell.
I can't. I mean, I'm not going to say that there are no circumstances in this world under which I would not keep that secret
For sure.
for someone.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say that I might keep that secret for someone. It's all circumstantial.
Yeah, not just because they're your bestie.
Not just because they're my bestie.
Mm-mm.
That's not enough.
Mm-mm.
I need a better reason than that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And not just to keep you from getting in trouble. I need a much better reason than that.
Yeah. So Stacy's in a pretty bad spot because she doesn't want her best friend to go to prison, but she is like tormented by this. She starts having reoccurring nightmares, and in these nightmares, Marie's dad is trying to communicate with her.
Oh my God.
Uh-huh.
This is a horror movie now.
I know.
She's haunted.
Uh-huh. Yeah. He's telling her to say something. Yeah. Oh my God.
Oh my God.
She starts losing focus and her grades are suffering. She starts drinking too much. And at one point, she asks her mom if she would check her into a mental health facility. And
Ugh.
nobody in Stacy's life can figure out what has happened.
What the hell is wrong with her?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah. So it gets to a point after 8 months of this where Stacy can't take it anymore. And so she tells her mom and the guidance counselor at school. And so
Oh my God.
later the police are told. Yeah. So Marie had poisoned her dad with barium acetate, which comes in a
Okay.
powder form. It's used for printing on textile fabric, for dyeing paints, and for furniture varnish.
Holy shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Luckily, the police still had some of Stephen's tissue samples in evidence. So they sent those out to an independent lab that would be able to test for this, because apparently that's not like part of the standard
No,
testing.
right. I
No.
mean, it doesn't sound like standard testing
No.
kind of chemical, right?
Yeah. And of course, it comes back as positive. And the amount of powder that was in Stephen's system was 28 times the lethal dose.
Holy shit.
Oh my God. Yeah. I know that poisoning is like statistically, it's like what women do, but it is so to watch.
We talked about this. We talked about this with the man who killed Halloween.
Yeah. Oh,
It
yeah.
is so violent.
Yeah.
It seems like it's not, but it is. Like, it's so violent on the body.
I know. It's only not if you give somebody something that just makes them go to sleep and not wake up. But like,
Right.
to give somebody something that makes them foaming at the mouth and vomiting and writhing in pain.
Right?
Oh God, it's so awful. So meanwhile, Marie has graduated from high school, and she used the $60,000 she received from her dad's life insurance to attend the University of Texas. And she enrolled as a pre-med student with the goal of becoming a pathologist. So kind of ironic.
Uh-huh.
And even at the university, Marie was at the top of her class.
Okay.
But she has no idea that midway through her freshman year that Stacy has spilled the beans and her dad's case has been reopened.
Okay. Just.
So, yes, midway through freshman year, a Fort Worth homicide detective shows up at the university and arrests Marie when she comes out of class.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. She didn't say anything when she was arrested or in the car ride to the station. But as soon as she was placed into an interrogation room, she confessed.
Okay.
Yeah, like I think it had been haunting her too. Like she just needed to get it off her chest.
Okay.
She said that her motivation was that she wanted to be with her mom. And she thought that she could go back to her mom and convince her to leave her stepdad. I don't know why she needed to kill her dad for that.
That doesn't, right?
That's
what I'm trying to figure out.
Mm-hmm. But of course, this backfired because she ended up going with her grandparents, because what she didn't know was that her mom and new husband had plans to move to Florida, and Marie didn't learn this until after her dad's funeral.
So they had plans to move to Florida and she couldn't go with them?
I think so.
So it sounds like her mom was doubling down on choosing her man over her child.
She was, but Marie was convinced that she could get back in her mom as, you know, her number one and get rid of stepdad, and they can go on their merry way.
I don't even have words for this. This is insane.
I know. So even though she confessed, she goes to trial and enters a plea of not guilty. Trial began in 1996, and her defense was that she had no intention of killing him, just like making him sick. Nothing. He didn't do anything wrong. Like, this is, I mean, not that that's a reason to murder someone, but like, I don't understand. Like, she left her mom's, she went to her dad's, everything was.
It was her choice. Mm-hmm. She could have chosen to go back.
Yeah. It's so sad. She did admit to stealing the poison and putting it in her dad's dinner, but she only planned to make him sick. That's what she said. Mm-hmm. Which didn't make sense, because her dad being sick wouldn't have helped her to get back to her mom necessarily.
Yeah, that doesn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm. And prosecutors also argued that Marie had an A in chemistry with plans to go to med school, and she would have likely known that the amount she had given her dad was not
lethal.
Yeah, it was way lethal.
Right.
Yeah. The night that her dad was poisoned, she sat by and watched his girlfriend care for him as he progressively got worse, and she just did nothing.
Did and said nothing.
Yeah. Stacy also testified at trial. And she said that Marie had admitted to her that she knew that the amount of poison she gave her dad would kill him.
Mm-hmm.
On May 9th, 1996, after less than an hour of deliberation, the jury found her guilty and she was sentenced to 27 years in prison.
Wow.
I know.
Well, she was a minor when she did it, right?
Yeah. Yeah. If she had never confided in Stacy, she would have completely gotten away with this.
Why did she confide? It sounds like she didn't have a conscience. She was worried she didn't have a conscience.
I don't know. Maybe she did. I don't know. She hasn't talked about it since. Like, she doesn't give interviews. She doesn't talk about it. She has a perfect rapport in prison.
Well, yeah, she's flawless.
And there was a visit with a psychologist who was meeting with her at one point in prison, and Marie was wearing like this paper thin issued garb, and there was like a cold front that had come into Texas, and she was shivering. And the psychologist asked her, "Why don't you ask for something warmer?" And Marie said, "Because I don't deserve to."
Well, this is a baffling case.
Yeah. That's it. That's the whole thing. That's all. That's it. I know. I'm sorry. What do you think? What do you think she did that for?
I don't even know. The fact that she had this weighing on her enough to tell her friend that she doesn't think that she deserves to be warm. It's weird. I am stumped by this one.
I am too.
I don't even have a guess as to what's going on in that mind.
I kind of feel bad for her.
Something's wrong with her.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I mean, she's not, right? Like she didn't fully understand the consequences of her actions.
I don't know.
Like, in some ways so smart, in other ways like not.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah. It made me sad.
It's really sad. I feel really, I mean, it's really, especially, like, he was so excited to have her.
I know.
Sister, that was a bummer.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know what? It's fine. We do that to each other.
Do you have a palate cleanser?
Not really.
Okay.
But I do have a chaos for you.
Okay, great.
I'm just going to dive in.
Okay.
So Jackie, not her real name, by the way, was 22 when she first met Bob Robinson in 1984.
Okay.
He was charming and charismatic, and she fell in love with him very, very quickly. Jackie had never been in love before, and Bob was incredible to her. He had long hair, and he was an anarchist, and, like her, an animal rights and environmental activist.
Okay.
They met outside Hackney Town Hall in London during an animal rights demonstration. Jackie kept running into him at similar protests, and then they went on some hunt sabotage trips together, which is literally what it sounds like. Activists take direct action to prevent hunters from being able to kill animals. This can be anything from masking the scent of the animals by use of strong-smelling products to throw off the hunting dogs, or destroying traps, towers, and blinds that the hunters use, or in some cases, infiltrating hunting groups like the Masters of Foxhounds Association in order to sit in on their meetings to expose them for unlawful tactics. Bob would often be the one to drive the group out to conduct these direct actions in a van, and he started making a point of dropping Jackie off last, and a relationship begins. By Christmas that year, Jackie is pregnant. And while the two aren't living together through the pregnancy, Bob is thrilled. Keeping the baby wasn't even a question. He shows up for all the appointments. Right around the time that Jackie is due to deliver, Bob insists that he needs to go make a visit to his dementia-stricken father in Cumbria, and he's gone for the weekend. But he returns just in time to be with Jackie when she gives birth in the fall of 1985.
Okay.
They have a little boy. The couple is happy and the activism is still happening. Late in the year of 1985, Bob attends a picket of a butcher shop in South London where graphic leaflets are handed out and he is arrested. Shortly after this arrest, Bob sends a letter to a friend of his, a fellow activist, telling him that he had been going pee in a public bathroom and been held up at knife point. And his friend was horrified and worried. And Bob goes to the police to report this incident. Sometime that same year, Bob and Jackie go together to another protest to support striking print workers who were fired from a newspaper owned by Rupert Murdoch. 6,000 people lost their jobs and more than 1,200 people were arrested in the action.
Jeez.
Also, in 1986, Bob organizes a benefit concert for the Animal Liberation Front and uses some of the proceeds to buy etching fluid, or paint stripper, which he tells his fellow activists he has used to damage a car belonging to the director of an animal testing laboratory.
Damn, they're just wreaking havoc.
He also co-authors a fact sheet titled What's Wrong with McDonald's with some folks from London Greenpeace.
All right.
This fact sheet would precipitate the McLibel case, which was a lawsuit McDonald's filed in the UK against environmental activists Helen Steele and David Morris, the co-authors.
McLibel?
McLibel.
Okay.
They took them to court for libel.
McDonald's style.
Yes. And honestly, I'm not even going to go into the McLibel case here because it could literally be its own full story on the podcast. This case literally went on for decades. So Bob has a party at his flat, a place he doesn't spend much time at, really. He's basically living with Jackie and the baby. And if he's not with Jackie and their son, he's off being an activist. And in May of 1987, unbeknownst to Jackie, Bob meets Belinda Harvey at a party in Tottenham, and the two began an affair.
Oh.
Now, when he tells Jackie he's off being an activist, he's also spending time with Belinda at a house in East London that she shares with 7 other people.
Shit.
In July of 1987, he and 2 other men that make up a cell of the Animal Liberation Front plant firebombs in 3 Debenhams department stores around southeast London as part of a campaign against stores that sell furs.
Okay. Too far. I mean,
this goes to that conversation we've had before, Amber, right? Like property damages and violence.
No, but if a person is in the store,
they set the devices to go off after hours.
Okay.
And to trigger the sprinkler systems. So they would damage all the furs.
Okay.
Right? What they didn't know was that at one of the department stores, the sprinkler system had been shut off for repairs. And so a huge fire broke out. The damage from the fire was estimated at £6.7 million at that store. All 3 combined, the cost was around £9 million in 1987.
Shit.
In 2024, that would be over £36 million in damage they caused.
What's the pounds to dollar? Do you know?
It varies.
Is a proc?
I don't know what it is today. It's like literally like a day-to-day thing.
Okay, great.
There's been times when it's been almost equal. There's been times when the pound has been worth like twice the dollar. So you get like,
okay.
Right. In September, the 2 men that Bob did that firebombing with were arrested in a room in Tottenham during a raid by anti-terrorist squad officers. These 2 men were reportedly in the process of what was clearly the well-practiced manufacture of improvised but efficient incendiary devices, similar to the ones used at the Debenhams stores 2 months prior. Later that year, after 3.5 years and a baby together, Bob tells Jackie that he's unsatisfied with their sex life, that she is neglecting it, and he starts pulling away from their relationship.
It starts? I mean, hasn't he been anyway? Just low key.
In spirit, but like now he's doing it in practice.
Okay.
In February of 1988, Belinda moves out of that full house and into an apartment with a couple of Bob's friends. He's also doing what he can at this time for his 2 fellow activists that got arrested when he did not. And he writes a letter to another friend expressing concerns that one of them isn't getting any visits or enough support from the activist community. And then Bob makes a point to visit him in jail and brings him a book on philosophy.
Okay.
By May, he's moved out of his dingy bachelor pad and into the apartment with Belinda and his friends. By this time, Belinda is absolutely in love with Bob. And now they're living together. And she asks him about having kids. Bob brushes her off. He does not want to do that.
And she knows that he has a son and that he was with Jackie.
No.
Oh.
Belinda is very upset that he says this to her, doesn't want to have babies with him, and she doesn't know about Jackie. She doesn't know about the son.
Oh, shit. Okay.
She doesn't know any of that.
Okay.
It's during this time in June of 88 that his two friends are on trial for the department store shit.
Mm-hmm.
And Bob is there every day to support his friends in court. Later in the fall, when Bob is not there, the apartment that he shares with Belinda and those two friends is raided in the early morning hours by officers from the special branch, and they are looking for Bob.
Uh-oh. Maybe he didn't get away with it after all.
Well, this spooks Belinda, and she moves out. But Bob stays there for a couple more months. But then by December, the heat is too much. So Bob has sort of a farewell weekend at a friend's house, and Belinda is there. And he says he's leaving the country to avoid being captured by police for his activist activities.
Mm-hmm.
Through this, he's still seeing Jackie and their son, although less frequently. And right before he leaves the country, he tells her that he's going on the run, basically. Their son is 2 years old. Sometime in early 1989, so, within the next few months, both Jackie and Belinda receive a postcard from Bob that looks to be sent from Valencia, Spain. It's the last time that either woman will ever hear from him.
Oh.
Jackie would go on to fall in love again with a man who loved her and her son so much so that he began legal proceedings to adopt Jackie's son.
Wow.
In the course of that, social services attempted to find the natural father, but they were unsuccessful. One Mrs. Mosley, who had shared an apartment with Bob in London, told the social services worker that his whereabouts were unknown and that he was unlikely to surface in the future because of his intense political involvement with the animal liberation movement activities.
Mm-hmm.
He was never adjudged a putative father by a court, nor had he made any maintenance payments under court order. Years went by, Jackie's son grew up, life went on. And then somewhere around 2010, Jackie's son, now a young man, a report comes out about a secret unit at Scotland Yard, the Special Demonstration Squad, or SDS, as it's referred to. This secret branch of the police consisted of a whole unit of undercover cops tasked with infiltrating political groups to counter threats of terrorism and political violence. As more information comes out, Jackie discovers, through the newspaper, that Bob Robinson was actually Bob Lambert, undercover police officer.
What? What? I am shooketh right now. He was playing the part of activist?
Yes.
Oh my God. The whole time?
The whole time.
Oh my God. I have chills.
When Lambert is revealed to be one of these officers, he is the seventh man to be publicly identified as a police spy in protest movements.
But he went as far as having a family with a fellow protester. Oh my God. Okay.
I will continue, but I need to point out, this is not as uncommon as you fucking think.
Jesus Christ.
This happens to people.
Wow.
A retired judge headed an inquiry to examine the conduct of about 139 undercover officers who spied on more than 1,000 mainly left-wing groups between 1968 and at least 2010. One of the main issues under scrutiny was how officers frequently formed intimate relationships with women without disclosing they were undercover.
Wow. That is
And-
fucked.
It's so fucked. And during Lambert's 4 years undercover, he deceived at least 4 women into having sexual relationships with him, all while he was a married father of 2.
Oh, he was actually in his real life was a married father of 2.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Once it all gets put together, it becomes clear that the 2 men who got arrested for the incendiary devices were a result of Lambert's infiltration. Although he would later deny he had anything to do with the devices that were planted in those department stores, but we all know he was fucking there.
Mm-hmm.
That the raid on Belinda's apartment was staged to remove any suspicion that Lambert was the snitch.
Mm-hmm.
As was his visit to his friend after the 2 men got arrested.
Right.
And pretty much every other thing he told anyone or did to make it look like he was with them.
Oh my God.
When Jackie found out in 2012, she was devastated. Everything she believed was a lie. Lambert had never made any attempt to track her or their son down. She became despondent and depressed and suicidal. She and her son sued Scotland Yard.
Good.
During the inquiry, another undercover police officer from the unit told the judge that Lambert bragged about fathering a child through a relationship while deployed, and that it was common knowledge in the office at the time that Lambert had fathered a child. This same officer had made this claim 2 times previously in internal police investigations.
The fuck?
Allegedly, Lambert had sort of informally admitted to getting Jackie pregnant to one of his supervisors while they were like drinking at a pub. And his supervisor decided that Lambert didn't need to report that at all anywhere officially.
What? Okay.
But our friend Bob wasn't the only one.
Mm-mm.
Another undercover officer using the identity Alan Bond, who spent the years between 1981 and 1986 infiltrating the Socialist Workers' Party, is also alleged to have fathered a child with a woman he met while undercover. In fact, Alan was the 4th such case to come to light in the course of the inquiries into this entire squad and their activities.
This is gross.
One of the representatives of the women who had been deceived into sexual relationships by these undercover officers said in a statement that it was clear that the practice of undercover officers deceiving women into relationships was endemic.
Mm-hmm.
It demonstrated the systemic and long-running sexism through the SDS, which allowed officers and their superiors to think it was acceptable to engage in such abusive practices. The inquiry found that at least 20 undercover officers had sexual relationships with women between the mid-1970s and 2010. I mean, at least 20 out of 139.
Mm-hmm.
That seems low to me.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my God.
One of the deceived women, known only as Madeline, gave evidence at the inquiry where she said the officer, Vince Miller, probably saw her as easy pickings at the time of their relationship, as she was, quote, very vulnerable, having recently separated from my first husband who had become extremely abusive. She said their relationship lasted a couple of months in 1979 before he disappeared. She said that his account that he only had a one-night stand with her while he infiltrated the SWP between 1976 and 1979 was false. And he had also deliberately represented how the relationship started. She didn't even find out the truth until a member of the inquiry showed up at her door. Much like Jackie, she was left feeling degraded, abused, and violated.
Mm-hmm. Wow. This is so fucked.
It's so gross. Mm-hmm. These undercover officers took the names of dead children to make their aliases more foolproof. I'm not really sure. And the women they had relationships with weren't always the target. Sometimes these women would provide them cover. They would invite these women along to some of the early gatherings that the officers would be attending because some lone dude showing up for the cause was more suspicious than a couple.
Mm-hmm.
But Bob Lambert did just fine, and from what I can tell, still is just fine. He eventually was promoted to heading up this undercover team, a career that in the police department that lasted in total 26 years. Then he went on to have an academic career, supposedly supporting progressive causes as an expert in Islamophobia, regularly speaking at political rallies to promote campaigns against racism and fascism.
Uh, okay. Did he I have so many questions. Did he have like a come to Jesus moment in his life, or what are we doing? No, that didn't happen. Um,
He literally wrote papers and articles and gained public prominence for his work and thoughts around the police and Muslim communities working in partnership to prevent terrorist attacks, going so far as to speak at events where attendance included some of the very groups he infiltrated, including London Greenpeace, who called him the fuck out and demanded an apology,
no shit.
which he did not give.
Wow.
It's after these inquiries that it is discovered that Lambert was a co-author in that pamphlet that led to the McLibel case, and that Helen Steele, one of the two sued by McDonald's for that leaflet, had also had a 2-year relationship unbeknownst to her with an undercover officer.
Oh my God.
Pivot.
Okay.
Rape in English law is defined as, quote, unlawful sexual intercourse with a woman who, A, at the time of the intercourse does not consent to it, and B, at the time he knows that she does not consent to the intercourse or he is reckless as to whether she consents to it. Mm-hmm. The basis of a prosecution then revolves around whether or not consent is given in law or its absence was ignored. Misrepresenting identity and obtaining sexual consent due to a false identity was not generally a crime in UK law. Mm-hmm. Other than in specific situations such as impersonating a person's partner or deceit as to gender.
Okay.
Other than in specific limited situations set out in statute, the general rule in UK law is that deceit only creates a case of rape, known as rape by deception or rape by fraud, if, quote, the act consented to was not the act undertaken.
Well, that's quite the word salad. So can you say that one more time?
Basically, it's only rape if you consent to something, but then what they do is not what you consented to.
Okay.
Crown prosecutors declined to bring charges against any police officers or their supervisors, including charges for rape and other sexual crimes, that covering sex under false pretenses, unconsented sexual acts, and other potential offenses, on the basis that rape charges would be unlikely to succeed, and for similar reasons, indecent assault, procurement of sexual intercourse by false pretenses, and misconduct in office were also felt to lack sufficient basis for a conviction.
I'm sorry. What? Oh my God. Okay. Wow.
The Metropolitan Police Service issued a statement in November of 2015 that was a giant fucking... I'm not even going to read the whole thing. I'm not even going to read the thing. It was just like such bullshit because it was basically like, yeah, it's all awful and we're really sorry. And we hope that these women feel better now that there's some financial compensation. Let's just move on, shall we? Mm-hmm. But in January of 2016, more cases came to light. And a complainant stated that they wanted disclosure of the cover names of officers who were engaged in this way and their supervisors so everyone could know for sure who they may have been deceived by into having sex and who was allowing it.
Yeah, no shit.
As far as we know, the units involved in all of this have been disbanded, and that is all that has been done by the Met Police besides their weak-ass public statement.
Wow.
The Met Police did end up paying Jackie £425,000 in compensation and an undisclosed amount to her son, who also suffered psychiatric damage after discovering the truth about his father at the age of 26. Mm. And the two have met, father and son, and are working on having a relationship. Despite how Jackie may feel about Lambert, she supports her son in pursuing whatever relationship he wants to have with his father.
That's tough. That's tough. That's awkward.
Uh-huh. And that is the TLDR on a very big deal that came out in the UK in the last 15 years about some majorly shady shit going on in the Met Police Department.
I fucking hate that. I absolutely hate that. These poor women. Oh, God, it's just so gross. It's so fucking gross.
I guarantee you that shit has gone on and still goes on in this country and others. I know it has. I mean, think about the Mr. Big shit that we learned about up in Canada. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Undercover fucking squads do shady ass fucking shit, dude.
Yeah. Shady ass shit. That is just so upsetting. Those poor women. Oh my God.
Yeah.
God, and thinking that you've connected with somebody over a cause that is so important to you, and
Yes.
you would just be going back and thinking about every moment and how
Yes.
everything was a lie.
Everything was a lie.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine what that feels like internally. And then, oh my God. Yeah.
And then to watch the police like close ranks and cover their own asses and try to sweep the whole thing under the rug and like throw some money at it and make it go away.
Yeah.
You know, after decades of this being in place.
Wow.
And you know, everybody that was involved knew this shit was going on.
Mm-hmm. Oh my God, that's wild. That's so wild. I hated that.
Sorry, sister.
Mm-hmm.
We need to be, you know, we need to know. We need to know about these things.
Well, that wasn't a palate cleanser at all.
Sorry.
It's okay. Fuck, man. Thank you for that.
Oh, you guys, you know what? Go join the Chaos Kids Club over on our patreon.com/crime, wine, and chaos. It's $5 a month. You get an extra episode every month. And you get the new episodes a day earlier than everybody else. And every once in a while, we have a virtual wine night. We hang out. We chit chat. It's fun. Go rate us wherever you listen to us. Please.
Mm-hmm.
That would be phenomenal. Especially on Apple Podcasts, because you can actually write us a review.
A typey. Yeah.
A typey. I mean, if it's a good one, please, you know, if it's kind.
I mean, but be honest. If it's not kind, you know.
True. We do appreciate honesty here. Yeah. We really, really do. Sister, that I love you.
I love you. That was so fucking
so chaotic.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye. Crime, Wine, and Chaos is produced by 8th Direction Records. Artwork by Joshua M. Davis. Music by Paul Abner. If you would like to support the show, you can visit our Patreon page at Crime, Wine, and Chaos /Patreon. Cheers.
Okay. He also, sorry.